Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Motivational speaker, the comeback coach, and goal crusher Joe Rivera brings you inspiring leaders, incredible stories, and valuable lessons on how you can change, grow, and reforge your life. Now, here's your host, Joe Rivera.
What's up? What's going on, everybody? And welcome to the Reforge Your Life Show. I'm your host, Joe Rivera, and here at the Reforge Your Life Show, we like to show you that the comeback is more than possible. And today, I'm super excited about the guest I'm bringing on. She's a friend, she's an upcoming author, and she's a professional speaker, and she's completely inspirational, man. You guys are going to love this. Mandy Salas, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming through today.
Thank you. Excited to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here also. So Mandy, you know, we worked together in the past and shared a stage, and I've heard your story, but some people in the audience might not have, and I can't tell your story the way you can. Nobody can. So I'd love for you to share your story with the audience. Tell them a little bit about who you are.
Okay. So I grew up playing soccer super competitively. I grew up in Southern California and got the wonderful opportunities to travel all over the nation, play at a super high level. And I was also a good student and always setting my sights for Stanford University. That's where I really wanted to go. My dad went there for law school, and that's really what I was working towards. So when I was 16, I decided to join a language immersion program, which took me to Argentina, where I learned Spanish. And I thought, that would look really good on my resume for college. But also, my family has some Latino roots, but lost the Spanish speaking ability along the way. So I wanted to bring that back to the family. So I went there and was there for about 6.5 weeks with the host family, which was an amazing, wonderful experience. And we were going on a road trip to see these famous waterfalls in Argentina called Iguazu that are on the border of Brazil and Argentina. And we got into a horrific car accident where we careened off the pavement into these grasslands off the side of the road. The car flipped over 9 times from what people gathered after we started to investigate the crash itself. And in that rotation, the first rotation really, I hit my head on the ceiling and don't remember anything else, but woke up outside of the car and I couldn't move and I couldn't breathe. So the fast forward of that is that I broke my neck and I became paralyzed from the shoulders down. And really, the next several years were figuring out how to adjust and get back into life. I was able to graduate with my high school class, and then I did go to Stanford a year later after a year of rehab. And then after that, I decided I really wanted to work in television production. So I moved to Los Angeles and worked in Hollywood, and then met my husband and moved back to San Diego, where I'm from, and now raising 2 kids. One is 9 and one is 12. Started a successful restaurant with my husband, and now I'm working on writing this book. It's a memoir, and doing some more speaking and trying to help inspire people all over.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, and you inspire me, so that goes without saying. I'm curious though, through this journey when you had the accident and waking up and realizing that there's you're paralyzed in certain areas. What went through your mind in that moment?
I think part of my athletic upbringing was a huge help because, and also maybe my brain was protecting me, or maybe they were giving me lots of drugs to help me deal with the pain. But for whatever reason, I wasn't super lucid for the first couple weeks. And I really thought, just like any other injury that I had had in sports before, like if I had hurt my knee or hurt my ankle, I wasn't worried that I wasn't going to come back. So I had that as sort of a buffer, I would say, to, I realized obviously that I could move. I was also on a ventilator for the first 8 months, so I couldn't breathe either. So it was, clear that it was a very serious injury. But I didn't think for a long time that I wouldn't be able to come back. And even when I was told by the doctors that, it was serious and that they had no promises for me on whether I was ever going to walk again, I felt like I knew better. I felt like I was going to show them that I was going to be the 1% of those people that do walk again. I was going to find that strength in my mind. I was really all about, you could do anything you put your mind to. So I was going to show them that I was going to put my mind to walking again, and I was going to walk someday. So I think that really helped protect my, my journey of being super devastated by it, again, going from an athlete to not being able to move at all. And my brain was able to process it and really try to figure out how I was going to still move forward and still be competitive in this life, still go after my success. I just had to figure out a new way to do it. So it definitely was hard, but I was also, I think something that really helped was being in Argentina versus being here and hearing the stories of people that have had similar injuries to mine here in the United States, is that for whatever reason, the doctors here really have the propensity to tell you right away, you're never going to walk again, or, give you sort of the worst news so that you're prepared for it. They don't want to give you what they call false hope. But in Argentina, they're much more compassionate. And I've sort of done more research on this. It seems like in Latin countries in general, there's a different level of compassionate care where they really told me, let's just worry about keeping you alive. You're struggling to breathe. You're having issues with pneumonia. Let's worry about that and let's focus on movement later. So they didn't really give me that devastating news when I was kind of in that hazy, not super lucid state. And I think that made a huge difference where I could really accept it sort of over time. I did go to a training facility in New Jersey for a year and a half and gave it everything I had, all of my money, my time. I worked out like an Olympic athlete for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. And it was really after that I had to decide, okay, am I going to keep putting all of my energy into this, or am I going to start living my life and, put it on the back burner? I never have really given up on moving again, but now I've sort of put it more in the hands of the scientists to figure out a way to do it, because I haven't been able to figure it out yet. But yeah, I would say that it was a long journey of acceptance, and I had a lot of assistance with that on the way, just from my former athletic mentality and the way the doctors approached me in Argentina.
Man, yeah, thank you for sharing that. There's a lot to unpack there, and I want the audience to be aware of the fact of a couple of things she just mentioned, that helped her get through, these devastating moments in her life. How first off, her mindset and never giving up on herself, no matter what the circumstances and conditions were. She realized shit, you know what? I don't have to be a victim of my circumstances and conditions. I could control my own destiny. And, that helped elevate her to where she is today, to overcome, the tragic moment in her life. And also how powerful, you mentioned how powerful other people's words can be,
Definitely.
right? And what you allow to come into your life, because people's words could be powerful. And she stayed in Argentina, and got help out there, and the doctors were compassionate. They weren't telling her that she couldn't make it. They weren't making it the end all be all for her, and it made it more comforting for her and made it easier for her to be able to overcome what she went through. So realize that, number one, your mind is the most powerful tool that you've been blessed with. And number two, be aware of the people that you're allowing in your life, in your circle, the people that, and the words that they're saying to you, because, man, words can be really powerful in the way that they're used. So, Mandy, I'm curious though. When it came to, because your kids weren't born at the time that you had this accident, right?
Right. Yeah. I was only 16.
Right.
So
And what did they tell you about being able to have kids at that moment?
they, you know, okay. So yeah, at that moment, I wasn't necessarily considering that. But later down the road, when it was time, when I had met my husband and we were sort of dating at the time and talking about kids, we both really wanted them. I started to talk to some of my doctors, which were, not necessarily super familiar with a spinal cord injury like mine, but knowing that I wanted to explore options and, be adventurous about things, because there aren't a lot of people in my condition that have children. So I talked to a couple of them, and the gynecologist that I had at the time actually told me that I probably shouldn't try to have kids. She said, if you were my daughter, I wouldn't recommend it because it's just really risky, especially with kidney and bladder issues. And there's so much going on in the body, and I would be really afraid for you. But what neither of us knew at the time is that I was already pregnant.
Ooh.
We had decided that we were going to do this anyway, and we were just going to start to get some resources together and figure out what it was going to look like. And the universe was like, okay, that's all we were waiting for. So, I was already pregnant by like 4 weeks. So once we did the blood test, she said, okay, well, I guess you're not listening to me anyways. So I got a new doctor and went on an adventure with him because he was much more willing to figure it out together. And I think that's really been everything in this journey, has been, obviously adaptive equipment and things like that are technology based and all sorts of advancements that make things possible. But really the biggest thing is helpful people and the personalities that are just willing to kind of go for it with me. So because of all of those types of people and all of those advancements in technology, I have been able to do so many of the things that I have always dreamt of, even before the injury, of course. And part of that was having kids of my own.
Oh man, God bless you. That is incredible, man, because you weren't taking no for an answer, no matter what it sounded like. You wanted to have kids. And I mean, talk about manifestation, man. I mean, you and your husband, were discussing having kids, not even knowing that there was one developing inside you. You went to go talk to a doctor. The doctor's telling you no, that you shouldn't do it. And you're like, you know what? Nah, we're not going to listen to you no matter what. This is what we want. And then you end up being pregnant. And man, I mean, You are a miracle in more ways than one, man. And I'm so honored to be able to call you a friend and someone that I know because, man, it's truly a blessing to know you and seeing the things that you're doing out there. Um,
Me too, Joe.
so I'm curious though, when you're going through this moment of your life, right? You find out someone who plays sports finds out, shit, I'm not going to be able to play sports again. Life's going to be completely different. You spoke about having the mindset of I'm gonna walk again. Uh, I'm not gonna listen to what the doctors say. Um, and that's extremely powerful to have that mindset. But I'm curious, along that way, did the faith start wavering? And what did that look like?
Yeah, so, I think, exploring a little bit more about that athletic mindset. So, one thing is, especially in the US, we love the story of the underdog, we love the comeback story. So, I was never going to give up. And it's been 33 years since my injury, and I still wouldn't say I've ever given up on that goal. I still work out. I go to the gym now. Now they have adaptive gyms here, so I don't have to go to New Jersey because that was the only one I could find at the time. So I'm still really working towards that goal and always staying fit. Um, but I would say that really what I learned in the initial time in the hospital. So I was in the hospital after my injury for about 8 months. And in those days, the hardest times were in the morning when I had dreamt all night of being back in my old body and then waking up and being like, okay, we're back here. This is real and this is what I have to deal with. And definitely, my hard times would be in the morning. My family would come, they would go sleep in their own beds, of course, at night, and they would come as early as they could in the morning. And so sometimes I'd wake up and they wouldn't be there, and I would have to process this sort of on my own and then wait for them to be there. We'd cry together, and then I'd be like, okay, I can do this again. So some things that I really learned in the hospital that also came from my athletic upbringing is that we have control of how we're going to approach every day and how we're going to react to things, right? So, I'd been drilled. I was 16. I was in between my junior and senior year in high school. So I was also on the Olympic development team. So at any one of my games, there could have been a scout from the national team or from a college or somebody that I didn't know that was watching me play. And what was always drilled into us was that, if you miss a shot, if you do something, that is kind of feeling like you screwed up, they don't want you to just like wallow in despair and let it take you out of the game, right? They want to see you get right back up on your feet and take advantage of the next opportunity. So with all of that being drilled into me for several years before my injury, that was what I was realizing translated into my injury and into life itself, where you have a choice of how you're going to react. So
Yes.
again, I would have those moments where I would be like, this is horrible. Like, is this going to be my life? And then I would be like, no, you got to snap out of it. Because the more you stay in that negative space, you get into those patterns, of course, of negative thinking. And it's really hard to get out of it, especially in something as devastating as that, right? You can really get caught in a whirlpool that sucks you down and you could maybe never come out of that. So I wouldn't let myself go deeper than I thought I could handle. So I would cry, I would let myself grieve, but then I would pull myself back up and be like, I'm not going to let that be the pattern today.
Mm.
And I'm going to figure out how to do this. So I feel like that really became my new pattern of resilience, of really doing that every single day. And, people have asked me, especially in this journey lately in the last couple of years, of telling my story more of, well, what do you still have bad days? And I don't have bad days because of my injury. I've gotten over that and gotten into this pattern where I'm going to get up every day and I'm going to make the most of it. I also, lost my host mother in the car accident. And then when I was in the hospital in San Diego, my stepdad got into his own car accident and was also killed. So all of those things taught me, that life is short and we've got to get back up as soon as we can and squeeze as much life out of every day as we can. So all of that to say that it was definitely a learning process, but it's something I still carry every day that I wake up.
Man, yeah, thank you for sharing that. There's a lot to unpack there, what she just said, guys, and everyone, all the listeners in the audience. I hope you're picking up the jewels she's dropping here, because, man, talk about. I mean, you mentioned how those thoughts, come up in your mind, and you allow yourself to be in the moment of those thoughts, allow yourself to let those feelings out, but you don't allow yourself to stay there. And everyone listening, that's so important, because nobody, I don't care who you are, nobody's perfect out there. Perfection is an illusion. It doesn't exist. And we all go through these moments of weakness where, our thoughts could allow us to wallow in our feelings. But being aware of it and knowing, you know what, this doesn't serve who I am. I don't have to stay stuck here. I could be here for a minute, but then I'm going to remove myself from there, and I'm going to take myself to a better place that's aligned with who I am and serves the person that I want to be, the person that I am, that I'm meant to be. Man, that's so powerful, Mandy, and it's so true. And I think that, a lot of people out there that I've come across in my life that are successful and have gone through tragic moments in their life, for some reason, we have that tool of being able to be aware of our emotions, being aware of our thoughts, and being aware of, what we, what's true to us. And, for the listeners out there, for the people who are struggling, realize that, man, your past does not define who you are. You do not have to stay stuck in your past. There's no reason for it. And you don't have to stay stuck and ruminate in your thoughts. Your thoughts do not control, your thoughts do control your destiny, but you don't have to stay in the negative thoughts and wallow there. You could go there because everybody goes there, but then realize that you control your thoughts. Your thoughts don't control you. You control what thoughts go through your mind and how long you're going to stay in those thoughts. So important. So, Mandy, when it comes to this journey that you've been on, through that time of the tragic moment and having to bounce back and, create this comeback that you're still creating, I'm sure that there's a belief system that had to get cracked through in order to get to where you are today. Do you mind sharing what some of those maybe limited beliefs or what that belief system looked like before, you came to the place you are now?
Sure. So I would say that I have never necessarily ascribed to one religion, but I've always felt a super strong affinity and understanding of a higher presence, we'll call it, something to tap into. So, when we were talking about manifestation earlier, I feel like I have been good always at figuring out, how to tap into that higher power and figure out what it's trying to tell me. So whether it's, a group of angels or, you know, going back to like the Olympus gods, maybe there's a whole group of them up there. I'm not sure. But what I do definitely feel a very strong connection with is what's maybe some people call synchronicity, but just things that are happening around us that we need to read and understand. So I have a little story about this where when I was first injured, we were in the middle of nowhere on the way to Deep Waterfalls, and I ended up at a hospital that was really more like a clinic, kind of like an urgent care maybe, and they couldn't handle, of course, an injury as severe as mine. So they, had contacted my family back in the U.S. and said, we're doing our best to get her evacuated on a plane to Buenos Aires, because that's where the big hospitals are, and that's where they can handle her care, but we can't really do much more here, and we're doing our best. And so they thought they could probably keep me alive for another day or two. And it turned out that my aunt, so of course my family started calling everybody they knew. My aunt, who lived in Georgia at the time, just started calling everybody she knew. She had a friend that lived on a boat outside of Georgia that she thought maybe could help for some reason. And turns out that that woman knew one guy from Argentina who also had obviously more friends in Argentina, but he had a connection to the one man that sold the ventilator that I was on to the clinic where I was. So in 5 phone calls, they got to a person that knew exactly what I needed and exactly what I was not going to be able to get at that hospital. So he was able to contact the governor of the province, who lent me his personal plane. They took out all the seats and they got me to Argentina in 24 hours.
Wow.
So whatever you believe in, you can't tell me that I wasn't meant to be on this earth. I clearly was meant to still be here, to do something, whether it was to have my kids or to come out and do podcasts with you, Joe, go out and speak to people and help them see all of this. But I really feel super connected, just, I don't know, to the universe in general, and feel like it's really guiding my way. And I just have to remember to listen to it sometimes, like a lot of us do. A lot of us get really carried away in our daily tasks. But when you sit and listen, another big thing for me is because I can't move my arms, it's easier for me to just be with myself. And I love to be in nature, be in sunshine, and just be like, what are you trying to tell me? And try to listen. Because there's a lot, I feel, that the daily chatter of our world around us can mute, but we just need to stop and listen sometimes.
Yeah, man. Listening and being able to sit with yourself is so important. It's so vital. And it sounds like, one of your core values is that spirituality side. And being connected to the universe, God, infinite intelligence, whatever you believe out there, and realizing that that's going to help you unlock your fullest potential and get through your darkest times. is something that you've been able to hold on to and develop that relationship with. And you spoke about, like, the angels that could be around, or whatever someone believes. But I believe that the people that we lose physically remain with us spiritually, and that's why they call it the eternal life. And you spoke about losing your mom, your father, and they've obviously played a big role in helping you get to where you are today, and that's awesome. To be able to really understand that and believe it and feel it is truly a blessing. So the spirituality is definitely a core value that helps you get through those dark times. And I'm curious, though, throughout the journey before, that strong presence of that spiritual connection was formed. What was there any, or, I mean, listen, limited beliefs come up in our lives all the time. What are some of those limited beliefs that you go through that you kind of latch on to that spiritual component to be able to get you through, and crack through those beliefs?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that, before my injury, I still had this type of connection, and I guess not this type, because it's definitely gotten stronger. But I definitely always had some sort of awareness um, to to things outside of our physical realm, even. But I think what really is difficult for all of us is, of course, being caught up in negativity. That's just something that our conscious wants to take us to. It's a lot easier to make negative patterns in our brains and to be aware of negative things happening versus positive things. So it really becomes um, a a practice of switching to positivity and being aware of the universe and being aware of what's keeping us going. I think that really all of us have this deep human potential, like human spirit and potential that we all want to reach, but then things happen to us and it really sets us back. And that's where we get stuck, right?
Yes.
So in figuring out those ways to not let that keep us down and to figure out all of the ways that can support us. Of course, being around loved ones, I had a tremendous support system. And then obviously, now with technology, there's so many groups that we can reach out to for that type of support. So I think that is also huge. Obviously, the spirituality and tapping into things that we know deep in our own soul. But then also really focusing on those mind patterns, getting those daily patterns within ourselves to keep the practice going so that we set the patterns that we want and that our real, true human spirit wants us to find.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Being able to be in tune with our thoughts, being in tune with our inner self, being in tune what what serves us, and what we want our life to be like and look like and feel like is so important to success. And to be able to overcome those negative thoughts when they do come up, because everyone out there is, nobody's immune to those negative thoughts. They come up in everybody's mind. It's just how you make sure that you don't allow those negative thoughts to control your destiny. Because let me tell you, if you start thinking, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm gonna be broke, and you start thinking from a poverty mindset, you keep thinking from a lack mindset, you keep thinking from that, shoulda, coulda, woulda bullshit. Guess what? That's the life that you're going to create for yourself. You're going to create that catabolic draining energy if you allow that in your life. And if you think from that anabolic energy standpoint and the abundance mindset, then you're going to create abundance in your life, because your creator didn't create you to not be successful. Your creator created you to be able to unlock your fullest potential. It's your job to go out there and realize what that fullest potential is. So, Mandy, can you please share with the audience where they can find you now and what you're doing now? And by the way, guys, I just want to touch on this before she gets into that, because I'm friends with her on IG and see her social media. And if you want to be amazed and inspired, you got to watch this woman in the gym, because it is incredible what she's doing out there. So she's a perfect example of why nobody should have excuses of, I can't go to the gym, or I can't take care of myself, I can't be healthy, because she's out there doing it, man. And if she's doing it, you all could do it. So, but I had to share that, man, because I'm so proud of you. Every time I see it, every time I see the footage, the reels and all that on your social, I'm so impressed and so inspired, man. I love it. Keep doing it, girl. So yeah, please share with the audience where they could find you and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I am hopefully going to have a published memoir by early next year, early 2026. Working super hard on that.
Wait, hold on, Mandy. Hold on. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but you're a woman of manifestation. You're a woman of, I could do this, I could do. What do you mean I might have a boy? I may have. Yeah, let's switch that up.
That's true. No, I will have.
There you go, girl.
In the process now of selecting the right publisher, and some of them have 6-month timelines and some of them have 11-month timelines. So I will say that for sure by this time next year, we'll have my published memoir out on the shelves and on Amazon. So look for that. But I can be generally found on my website, which is just mandysalas.com. And my Instagram handle is the letters IM.MandySalas. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook. But I'm working on branching out to doing more speaking to get out onto more stages and spread this word. Really, my main message is that, it's all in our minds. There's so much that we can do with our minds, and that we have so many tools that we might not realize. And just like you're saying, Joe, we have to envision things for our future instead of letting our past keep us down. So that's really the message I'm spreading, and working on speaking, working on workshops, working on retreats, just really trying to be with people and grow a community and help give back. Now that I've been doing this for 33 years, I feel like I have lots of stories and lots of things to share. So I'm working on getting out there more and sharing all of those things with people.
Man, absolutely love it, Mandy. All that's going to be in the show notes of where you can find her. And man, if y'all haven't heard Mandy speak, check her out. She's inspirational. She's incredible. And book her to speak, book her to help you flip that paradigm, because she's incredible. Mandy, I'm curious. There's a few things that I ask all my guests. The first is, what brings your spirit alive?
So I just posted about this yesterday. So one thing that for sure really ignites my spirit is being in nature. For me, it's being in the sunshine. So part of the injury, I've always liked the sun, and I've always, being from San Diego, I'm a weather wuss. So being in the sunshine now, not being able to move as much, I get cold. Also with the injury, I don't have a lot of good temperature control in my body. So something like the sunshine is just the most amazing, wonderful thing. It, of course, gets me warm, but just seeing like the big blue skies and realizing, what nature is and how powerful it is. And it's all around us all the time. So I would say that for sure is a huge thing for me. I used to have a patio on my house when I lived in LA that I just called my manifestation deck, because I would go out there and just feel so amazing in the sunshine. And that's when I decided to have kids. Happened there. I decided to actually go out and meet a husband. That happened there. So many other things happened there about my job and production and things like that. So I feel like for me, the one thing that really ignites my soul is being in the sunshine, and especially being in nature, somewhere where it's quiet, where there's greenery around, and seeing, feeling all of the magic that's around us all the time.
Oh man, I love that. I love that, man. Hey, listen, man, get a sunshine deck, y'all, because that's where she's manifesting. You can't use hers, but you could get your own. You can manifest any way you want, man. Create it and bring it into existence. You got to believe it. You got to feel it. You got to see it. It's so important, man, to your success, to be able to see what you want your life to look like before it happens, to really be able to create the life that you would love. Mandy, when you hear the word purpose, what comes to mind?
So for me, I would say that we all know our purpose. We all have this human spirit that is trying to get us to the very highest potential that we can possibly reach. So we all know our purpose deep inside, and we all know that it is a strong and powerful purpose. And we just need to figure out how to manifest it, how to make it happen. But for me, personally, my purpose is being defined every day, but it's giving back, which I think is probably for everybody. Once we have been on this planet and have learned so many of the things that we learn, because everybody has challenges, everybody has adversity that we need to get through. And I think that giving back to help others get through those difficult times also is super important. So I think there's a general purpose of humanity, which is to give back. And that's really what I'm tapping into for myself right now.
Yes, 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 yes. We all have a purpose inside of us. And man, you touched on something that's so important. Giving back. Man, it's such a blessing when you learn the power of giving back the gifts that you've been given, because we've all been given gifts somewhere along our life. We're giving gifts, and having that gratitude in place and being able to give it back and realizing how important it is to give back is vital for you as a human on the inside, and you as the spiritual being that you are, because we're all a spiritual being living a human experience, and we all have it within us to walk and live in our purpose. It's our job to find what that purpose is and then give it back in some way. And when you hear the word reforge, Mandy, what comes to mind? What do you think of when you hear that?
I would say that we all learned the word so strongly in 2020 with COVID, a pivot. Everybody had to pivot and figure out what their life looked like for that year or 2 years or however long it was. And so we all that lived through that, which is probably everybody listening to this, all see that we can reforge, right? We can really readjust after things happen. So I obviously didn't expect to be in this accident. There's a lot of things that happen to us that we don't see coming and that are just part of our path, but we can figure out a way with the right mindset and also, just having the skills to always be honing, that we just have to figure out how to get around these obstacles that get in our way. So Reforge is definitely, creating different paths to still get to where you've always wanted to be when obstacles get in our way.
Very, very well said, man. We all did sure have to learn to reforge after COVID. So if there's somebody out there right now who's looking to reforge their life, what's one tool you could give them to be able to do that?
So I would say that be aware of where you're focusing. So our brains will focus on something. We get caught up in, oh my gosh, imposter syndrome where I am not good enough for this. I'm not good enough for this. And we get into those patterns where we focus on that and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and it takes over our mind space. So then we can't really think of anything else. But if we can step back and shift our focus to something more positive, like I can do this, or I'm getting better at this every day, or really count the blessings, count the achievements that we've had, and look at our paths to see that we're on the right path and not let those negative things take over our brains, then we can focus on something else, something good, and it will get bigger and it will take over. And so if we can start patterns in that, then the more patterns we set, then the more and more positive things will start happening.
Man, oh man, gem after gem after gem, y'all. I hope y'all are picking it up because that's good. That's real good. I mean, because that paradigm, man, it could be instrumental in your life if you allow it to be. But learning to shift that paradigm towards the direction that you want to go in life, oh man, it's so vital for your success, yeah. Mandy, thank you so much for coming through. This has been awesome. I mean, I knew you were inspirational when we met and when we worked together, but man, and I knew you were gonna bring the thunder, but man, did you go and above and beyond to exceed those expectations, and you just are truly an inspiration. And I love that I could call you a friend. I love the fact that I have you in my life. I'm grateful for you as a friend. I'm grateful for you to be here with us today, to be able to share your story and give this back to people who need to hear it. So thank you again so much.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Man, and for all the listeners and viewers out there, thank y'all for checking it out. Please do me a favor. Don't forget to LFSS. Like, follow, subscribe, and share. Because there's somebody out there today who's not watching the episode. Maybe they don't even know about the podcast. And they need to hear this message, or they need to hear the message from one of the past episodes. And by you sharing the podcast with them, maybe you're changing their life. Maybe you're saving their life. So please do me that favor, y'all. Share it and stay productive, stay profitable, and stay blessed.
You've been listening to Reforge Your Life with your host, Joe Rivera. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Joe Rivera and how he can help you or your organization reforge your life and regain your place at the top, head on over to withjoerivera.com and follow Joe on all social platforms. The Reforge Your Life podcast was produced by Thrive Loud Productions. Thanks for listening.